Essentially today we're talking about failures when it comes to business and finances, because of course, as you've probably seen on this channel and many financial channels, oftentimes it's only the highlight reel that is spoken about and we don't often mention the things that have gone wrong. But we all know that we learn the most when the times are challenging. It's an invitation for growth. So therefore, let's talk about some failures that I've had when it comes to finances and the things that I've learned from that. Before we do get started, we have an epic newsletter. Leon writes it, the co-founder of Abundantia. Just such a good writer. People love this newsletter. So if you want to learn more about finances and freedom in a really entertaining, beautiful way, check out the newsletter, link in bio. These failures, I'm going to call them lessons, they are not in any particular order. They are all equally as important, I believe. So let's see what we have. Starting off with wishing that I invested earlier. And I say this more specifically tailored to property investing. I just thought property investing was something that older people did. When you make the wealth, that's when you invest in properties. This is true, and that is one approach, and I took that approach, so I focused wholeheartedly on my business venture rather than property investing. However, if I would have allowed myself to consider the possibilities and not limit myself according to my age, I could have potentially looked at investing a little bit earlier and learned the skill of using debt in order to purchase some sort of properties so I could have something behind me as an investor from a younger age. The area that I grew up in, which is this area roughly where I am, northern New South Wales, the prices have gone up drastically since I lived here. When I was growing up here as a 16-year-old, Byron Bay, which is now one of the most famous places in all of the world, it had just the crazy hippies living there. People didn't go there. And I remember vividly when the celebrities started coming in, I was wondering what on earth they were doing. The prices there were pretty affordable. And now we're looking at properties worth $25 million. If I would have just explored the possibility of learning to use debt in a safe and smart way, was I able to just invest in a property of some sort? It didn't have to be a fancy property, but right now it would have been a huge return for myself. There is a flip side of this, of course. I am now a property investor at the age of 32. I have dwellings. However, I'm thankful that I didn't begin my journey earlier, actually, because the amount of paperwork that you have to do when it comes to properties, even if you have property managers, which I do, there's still a lot to consider. So I am grateful that I focused wholeheartedly on business and figuring out how to make more money so I could then learn how to invest it later on, because I didn't have to deal with too many headaches at such a young age. Lesson 2 is in regards to business, actually. So when I was starting out the business venture, my mum was at the time selling on Amazon, and this was a really interesting space for me. So I started exploring this as well, and I went through this course that she purchased, and I only got a little bit into the course, and then I just had this mind switch that I was like, I'm doing this, and that's it. And so I ended up buying $14,000 worth of makeup brushes that the market didn't want, nor did they need. They were priced wrong. They were not the right brushes because I didn't know anything about makeup. And I so vividly remember my mum saying, hey, don't you think that $14,000 is quite too much just to experiment and see if people actually want this product? And also the makeup brushes, they're quite bulky. So that means that there's lots of shipping fees associated with this. And she also pointed out, that the market on Amazon already had a lot of makeup brushes. So I wasn't standing out in any different way. Just because I was bamboo and plastic free, I was so set that people were gonna like the product anyway. So I just went ahead with it. It was a complete flop. I lost all that money. $14,000 was all of my savings that I had because I worked as a bartender. Nobody gave me this money and I lost it. I lost it all. Now, of course, there's always lessons from everything that we do. Physical products are just not for me. I am not interested in physical products. I would rather sell digitally and be in the online digital space, selling education, because I think this is something that people buy once and then they have this knowledge for life, and it always builds up the skill set that they will need sometime in their future timeline. So yes, I did lose a boatload of cash at that time because I was just unwilling to look at the statistics and acknowledge that maybe this isn't something that the market wanted. Just because I wanted to do it didn't mean that it was going to work, and I put way too much money in without actually testing if this idea was going to work. Big no-nos in business. Lesson 3. This is something that I've just recently actually learned. So in the last 2 years, I've acquired 11 dwellings. Just a quick breakdown. There were 2 properties that I bought for roughly $500,000 Australian each. One brings in $2,000 $1,500 per month rental income, and the other one brings in $1,600 per month rental income. Then after that, I bought 2 duplexes under the guidance of a property investing agency, and I paid $320,000 for one of those duplexes, which brings in $2,200 Australian per month, and then another one which was $205,000, which brings in $1,700 per month. They're duplexes, double rent, which also means double the insurance, double the maintenance. However, all in all, the properties that cost me less are actually making me more in tenant income, which is mind-blowing. I got emotionally invested in purchasing these other 2 properties, which yes, they came with a lot of land and they're very beautiful, and I spent a lot of money renovating them because I love them, because I got emotionally invested in them. As a brand new investor, what is the most important strategy that I think for myself, I should have been more focusing on passive income, because I am still so fresh. I don't have the luxury of paying way too much for something that isn't going to bring me the income that I need right now. The $1 million that I spent on 2 properties, I could have had another 2 duplexes, which was 4 tenants living in those duplexes, which would have increased my rental income immensely and helped me to reinvest that further. I got emotionally invested. I'm so thankful I have these properties, I will say that. And in the long run, the more expensive properties that I've purchased have already gone up in price drastically, and the cheaper properties will not go up in price as much because they are not as spectacular as the other properties. So I more, in this instance, ended up lucking out by playing the long-term game. If I wanted to sell these properties later on, it would be beneficial for me. But again, I was a young investor, I am a young investor, and I should have still been concentrating on passive income rather than getting emotionally invested. So ensuring that when you're starting your investing journey, you are just looking at numbers. It has to be a good investment with numbers. It has to have a good return on investment on the money that you're putting in, as maximum as possible. You have not unlocked your privilege in order to play in that game yet of overpaying for something. So definitely stick to the numbers. Lesson 4. This was a big one for me. I actually won the best job on the planet a few years ago, and it meant that I was meant to walk away with $30,000 at the end of these 3 months because all expenses were paid. At the end of the 3 months, I ended up with $16,000 left over, which is great, but where on earth did the $14,000 go? I still to this day do not know. And a lot of people aren't going to talk about this a lot because a lot of people don't get this magic amount of money just appear to them. But it can happen through inheritance, through a lucky streak. These things happen. And the big lesson I've had to learn is that managing money is so difficult. Making money is one skill set. Learning to manage that money when you have it, when there are so many temptations around you that want to take your money and it's so easy to spend that money, that is a skill set in order for you to learn how to manage that. When I was faced with all of a sudden $14,000 just magically disappearing, I really had to face off with myself, and I'm so glad that I had this lesson early on, because in January 2020, I remember sitting down on the couch and calculating that I had $1 million in my bank accounts that I was not focused on because I was so focused on business that I wasn't really doing anything with my finances that were coming in. And that is when I went into full overdrive, learning how to invest as fast as possible into the best strategies I could find. And I did not spend anything stupidly. I really held onto that money so dearly. I wasn't splurging, I didn't increase my spending habits. To me, I already had the lesson that I could lose all this. This could be my only lucky break that I have. So I really have to ensure that I use this money wisely. And I'm so grateful I did. Also, keeping $1 million in a bank account is a really dumb idea, I know. If you are gonna keep any cash in a bank account, check out BlockFi. They at least pay up to 9% in interest for your cash deposits. Link in bio if you wanna find out more. Lesson 5. Finances and relationships. This is something that's really interesting that a lot of people are asking myself and Leon, because we created this business together. We've been together for 6 years. There have been challenges when it comes to relationships and finances. I definitely say that there's been failures in that. I'm not going to disclose too much, but I will say that the biggest challenges that you can face if 2 people aren't on the same page when it comes to finances, and if the discrepancy of incomes is drastic and there's no other way for the other person to get out as fast as possible from that, unless the person that is making way more money is very comfortable with the fact that the other person isn't making much money. So this has been a challenge that Leon and I have been undertaking for a long time, and we are definitely on the other side of that, which is just so great, because for sure, myself, I was way too tight on finances. I've had my mum say from the age of 2 that I was so into finances, and I was a tight ass. Like, I just did not want to spend my cash at all. I wanted to invest and save and invest and save. Money was everything to me. That was my lens. And Leon came from the background of being really great and making a lot of money, but he didn't know how to invest the money. So he had more of a joy from spending money. I had a joy from saving money. So for me, I had to definitely learn how to just relax and splurge a little bit more and take care of people around me with finances and be more charitable. This has been a lesson of mine. Whereas Leon has had to step up a little bit and learn how to invest. If people aren't on the same page, it is going to be really challenging, and you're going to have to figure out a way of ensuring that you're somehow supporting each other's goals. It doesn't mean that both people have to be making the same amount of money, but it just means that you have to be very transparent with each other's expectations on this. But having a way to speak about finances really honestly and openly, expressing your needs and desires, it has to happen. It's going to be hard, but it has to happen. Next lesson. So I'm actually filming for another video, but I wanted to squeeze this in because I thought it was quite important. Being willing to step outside of my comfort zone and take a risk into something other than my very set lane that I wanted to be in. So I'm specifically talking about last year, when I was also investing in precious metals, properties. I started investing in cryptocurrency, but I genuinely thought, oh, what is this thing? I'm not gonna bother. It was $8,000 a coin at the time, and I thought that was ridiculous. I knew nothing about it. If I just spent some time studying, and if I invested at least even proportionally a little bit equally to what I invested in precious metals, I would be laughing right now. But I just didn't know what it was. So I was like, no, fine. This is a stupid online thing. I'm not gonna bother. So being aware of what's going on outside of your very focused lane sometimes can be beneficial. Don't spread yourself out too thin, because that's also a danger. But be willing to research outside of your narrow lane just a little bit, just to see if maybe there's something there. The final lesson, I really want to put it in here, not because I actually did fail in this regard, but because I tremendously succeeded in this space, and I'm so freaking thankful. If I didn't take this lesson on, if I didn't push through the hardships, this would have been one of the biggest fails of my entire life. Full stop. I'm talking about taking great risks in my 20s. This is the time to do so. When I didn't have many strings attached, no one was relying on me. I could work in crappy bar jobs till stupid hours and then go home and stay up till even stupider hours working on my businesses, trying to make them work. I am so thankful that I ended up spending $14,000 on those stupid makeup brushes and learning the skill of trying to learn how to sell that, learning to set up a business around that. It flopped. So many lessons from that. I'm so grateful that I set up a social media marketing agency, which later on I had to refund the first clients that I got because I realized I can't deliver on this. I thought I could, I can't. Also, I was undercharging drastically. It wasn't what I was interested in. I refunded them. But I'm so glad I put myself out there to do something like that. I'm so thankful that I started YouTube multiple times, embarrassed myself completely, lost a little bit of my dignity from doing so, but it gave me the skills that I now have in order to sit here in front of you right now. Most of all, I am so thankful that I took one of the biggest risks of my entire life. When I was about 25, I gave up my home, my friends, my comfort, my jobs, and my partner. I gave up everything because I just had this one hunch that said, take a one-way ticket and go to Europe. For no reason. I didn't know why. And I did it. And because of that one single decision that was so uncomfortable that when I made the decision, I drank a bottle of wine because I just didn't know how to deal with all these really scary emotions. On the other side of this discomfort has only been beauty. It's been a magical journey. And if I didn't do all these things, even though they were so incredibly scary and my life was so comfortable and on track to be beautiful as well, but now it's just magic. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're new here, make sure that you subscribe. We have an awesome community here. I think you're gonna love it. Also, share down below some of the failures or lessons you've had when it comes to finances or business to help somebody else out that is going through a bit of a tough time and they could relate to your challenge, because sometimes honestly reading somebody else going through the exact same thing as them is so comforting. So do share what you've gone through and the lessons you've learned. Also, we have that epic newsletter. Don't forget to check it out. It is awesome. And finally, we have a private membership with incredible humans that are on track to creating a life of finance and freedom that is suitable for them and their own journey. If you want to find out more and learn to be part of this community, there is also a link in bio for that. And I will see you in the next one.